This podcast focuses on honing in on your marketing skills and helping you have more fun and less stress in your business as we interview your peers and see how they are succeeding in marketing. Now, on to the show. Welcome. Thanks for joining us once again. We're at the Business Marketing Podcast, and we're here with Miss Sarah. And I went with yellow because Sarah is a beam of sunshine, and I thought it was appropriate to go with the yellow with Sarah's positivity and a happy attitude. Miss Sarah, what do we do, and how do you want people to see you throughout this episode?
I am Sarah Stockham, an award-winning television show host, and would love for people just to kind of listen through to look at their own life and see how their through line in their story makes a difference, not just for them, but for other people as well.
Yep, that is awesome. And the story reaches so many different people. And so many folks, you get to learn more about your TV show when we ask these questions, and people are going to learn a lot. You don't have to be a Netflix star to be on TV, and that's going to be like the juice of this thing. It's going to be a really great conversation. Are you ready for the questions?
I am ready.
Let's do this. The first one we're going to talk about is what you love most about your job.
I absolutely love that I get to talk with people who are truly around the world. I grew up in Africa. My parents worked there, and it's given me the opportunity to reach back into some of those friendships and to meet other people as well. And for people to tell, how did they get to where they are today? That's always the first question of the show. And just to hear them reflect on that, and for them to pick up different points and to talk about that, and then to be able to weave that into those spaces, because all of us have gone through challenges, Billy. All of us have. And so finding those places of when you went through something hard, how did you get through it? That, I think that's the place that people listen into. The industry standard is 24 to 26 minutes. And in our 56-minute show, people are listening for 40 minutes and more consistently on average. And I think it's because that we get to those places of tell me more, and not just leaving it at the surface, allowing people to kind of get into a deeper space of what they are. So for me, one of my oldest memories of childhood as we lived in the edge of the rainforest was that literally our table was sawhorses with a door across it with a piece of fabric on top of it, and dignitaries from around the world would come and they would sit at this makeshift table in our cinder brick house, and they would ask questions, they would share stories. And as a little tyke, I was sitting at that table hearing and listening. And so for me, part of the arc is that being able to have these stories and have them be shared literally globally now because of technology.
That's an incredible story. Let me ask, before we move to the next one, I do have one follow-up.
Sure.
You have a question that you ask, that you go-to question where you seem like it gets a little bit deeper. You know what I mean? Like, we can ask an array of questions, but you always kind of hit into a groove of, when I want to like get deeper, this is the go-to question. Do you have one of those?
So the first question is, how'd you get to where you are today? Listening then for some of those different, more difficult places. And then the question is, reframing that, what they have said, give them a chance to breathe, a chance to be present, and then say, how did you get through this? And be looking really specifically for the tools that they use to get through it. For some people, it was, I had to start everything all over again. For some people, it's I needed to journal. For some, it's I needed to have a mentor. For some, it's I need to find someone like Billy who can help me take what I have where it is and be able to move it to a new place, right? And so finding those, what helped you be able to move forward?
Okay, that's good. I'm gonna start using some of these questions. I'm stealing for myself. I'm learning a lot here. All right, so you've been at this for a long time, and you've been very introspective. That's your nature. So let's look back to year one and talk about something that you would look back on and kind of cringe and be like, I can't believe I did that.
So I was a teacher for 35 years. So being in front of people, having concepts and ideas was something that I could articulate at some level and some degree. And growing up in Africa, everything was communal. And so I had just learned that you need to be in community. And so that made sense as well. But when I look back, and truly the cringe pieces for me are the technology pieces of learning to press the buttons, learning to look at the right place, absolutely learning hardcore that people will forgive you for the visual not being very good. But if the audio stinks, they are turning it off and they are done. And so just learning some of those real core pieces And so today, all of the fans are turned off in the space that I'm recording, just because I want the quality of our conversation to be higher grade. So just learning some of those pieces as well. And then just allowing, um, getting out of my own way. Does that make sense,
Yeah.
Billy?
Yep. It
Yeah.
does.
Yeah.
Do you provide the guests on your show like audio or audio tips and advice as well? Because I know sometimes that could be an issue and that could ruin an episode.
You know, I mentioned that our watch time, our listen time is consistently over 40 minutes in a 56-minute show. We had a drop off recently, and part of the reason
Mm,
for the drop off, I am certain, is because there were some audio issues. And even though we kept moving forward through it, those pieces were absolutely there, and they all just happened to be in the same place. The
mm.
content was so good, but the audio part was sticky. Because we were, I mean, she's in Thailand and I'm here, right, in
Okay.
America. And so there was some pieces I think that had to do with that, and maybe some sun flares, don't know. I got so much out of the conversation. And I think if listeners had stayed through with it, that they would have as well, because finally it did do what I was wanting it to do, which was even out, right? But
Yeah.
it was sticky for a little bit.
Oh, that's amazing. So when you talk to people like folks in Thailand and you do the global show and you're all over the place, like it must have been fairly easy for you to come with your branding, how you packaged yourself and your logos and all those different things. So talk to us about the process. How did you come up with the brand and what you are today? A quick break before we get to that next answer, because I know that answer is going to be brilliant, which is why I chose this moment to interrupt. If you love what you're seeing and you want to run your business off of warm marketing referrals, visit our website, livelocalwarmmarketing.com. It's got valuable resources, office hours, memberships, the book, an array of resources to help you get rid of cold calls, cold leads, door knocking, and run a business you can be proud of through referrals and warm marketing. Now, back to the show.
So during the shutdown, I took a class, and it just happened during the class that I met Julianne Meyer, who is the network president for the network that I'm on E360 television, E360 TV.
Yeah.
And in that space, um, we had begun kind of walking life together, and picking up some other times to connect. And I knew that she was wanting to do a radio show. She found E360 and is now at the highest level inside of the organization because of who she is and the work that she does. Julianne also now is working with the Los Angeles Tribune and what they are working on there as well. So she is a mover and a shaker. And she was wanting to launch her own network, Arion TV. And so she asked several of us. I was the first person to say, hey, let's have a conversation about that. I'm not a techie, but let's have a conversation. And what she was building was a business brand. And I came to her and I said, Julianne, you know me. You've been watching the videos that I've been putting out on YouTube. They've been about stress. They've been about Reiki, about meditation. They've been about walking a labyrinth. There have been about other things of how do we center ourselves and ground ourselves. It's not business specific. I'm taking what I learned as a child, listening to those African drums and dancing with them, the energy of that, and I'm looking for spaces to be able to share with people that we don't have to be so locked in. We can use all the technology, we can do all the things, but we need to be listening internally and honoring that. And she said, Sarah, that's exactly what I'm looking for. And so as we began talking about it, she was like, what do you want to name the show? And I said, I don't know, Julia. And she says, Simply Sarah. I said, okay. And so she was the one who actually chose the name. And then we started talking about colors, and we played around with a couple different things, and ended up with the logo. But part of that was also working with her, because she was so far ahead of me
Yeah.
in terms of, and had worked with other people. And so I can do visual things. She is visual things. And so it just was really easy, again, to be in that space, to have somebody to have conversations with. And I love that she was so present from the beginning, and is just a text or a phone call today away, and does offer every other week for all of us to get together to ask questions. She's there to help tell us what's taking place on the network, on the big mainframe as well, those kinds of things. And so I just really appreciate who she is and what she offers.
It's amazing the organic relationships you just create, like you just attract people. So when it comes to your marketing though, that's a different animal. So how do we go about what's one thing for you in the marketing space that's really working well?
We make promos for each of our shows, and it's a 30-second or so promo, and starting with a question to kind of get people, looking for that hook, if you use that
Yeah.
terminology. But in that space, then wanting people to be able to hear my heart in it as well. So we do pre-record. Not every conversation is pre-recorded. I do it because I want people to be awake, because I am interviewing people around the world. I'll be interviewing somebody very
Yeah.
soon from Australia, and she said, "Hey, Sarah, this day works really well, but I don't want to do this at 5 in the morning." I said, "Okay, let's find, I'll go later in the day. On Thursday, it'll be early in the morning for her Friday." And so finding some of those pieces, but also in that space of using the promotionals, being consistent with it. I will also say the E360, for the amount that we share with them, that we pay, we invest with them, they do several things incredibly well. One of them is that they make sure that we own our content. They never own the content. It's like you own your car on a freeway, you don't own the freeway, but you get to use it. So it's the same kind of thing, like a toll road. And then they also will take those promos and they will make them all pretty and do all kinds of things, but they have their own Instagram, their own places that they advertise. So it's not just me standing in a corner saying, "Hey, would you please watch the show?" They have this huge space that they are advertising in as well. I think they have 1.6 million views a month at this point. And so, yeah, so I it was one of those incredible serendipitous things. I knew I was going to be leaving teaching. I was really sad over that, didn't know what I was going to be doing next. And this showed up in my life. And I said, I don't know technology that well, but I'll get it figured out.
Do it.
And here we are.
Um, so it's easy to talk about the things that went well. Let's also talk about the things that did not go well. That's where all we learn the most. So talk about a marketing strategy that didn't go that well.
I think the space for me that hasn't gone well, or that didn't go well initially, was me cross promoting over into an area
Mm,
that wasn't their jam, it wasn't their thing. And so kind
got
of
it.
figuring that out, and taking some pretty strong emails back
Mm,
of and then just kind of sitting with that and going, okay, I know this person, I know their heart, and they just must have been in a really bad mood or hadn't taken their pain medicine or something. Don't know. But just to hear their no, but take that no as a, let me find a better way forward, or let me just allow these chips to keep falling where they are, knowing that the people will unsubscribe who it's not for them, the people who are wanting this, that are thirsty for this, that they will absolutely lean into it. And the interesting place for me was that I don't even recall saying anything in the email about doing Reiki. However, that's what she picked up on, that was very, she was affronted by that. And so
mm.
again, we use terminology. I think about it as being energy. All of us are energy. To me, it's not a big thing, but for her, it had a very different meaning. And so again, not be affronted by it. It is what it is, and it's one person, and that's okay.
Wow. All right. So you talk about your audience and how they lean in and they're thirsty for what you're giving them and all the information. How are you finding your community of guests, the people that come on the
Mm.
show? Like, how are you attracting them? How do you find them? How do you decide that they're the right fit for you?
So at this point, we're 3 years in. We have over 1 million views a year, long form and reels. But let me just go back to the beginning, because I think that's a really important place to start this conversation. In the beginning, I was literally reaching out to, let me start before that. I made the agreement with my husband. I went to him and said, "What do you think?" And he says, "Do it for a year." Went back to Julianne and said, "We're going to do it for a year." So
Okay.
then opened up my Rolodex. It's not really a Rolodex, it's in my phone, but still, right? And so in that space, opened up and just began reaching out. Who are people that I enjoy having conversations with? Who are people who, if I only do it for a year, that I will go, yeah, I had a conversation, and they got out of their comfort zone because I was the first television show for a lot of people to have been on. And a lot of them hadn't done podcasting either. So they were like, I don't know. And I was like, we're going to do it together. We'll
Mhm.
be fine. And so that was the first place. The first advertisers came in because of Julianne, said, "Hey, I just want you to meet this person." They were like, "Oh, we know Julianne. We want to advertise on your show." And so that just kind of the whole thing was very much community or and very much organic. And then I was challenged to by Julianne in one of these Tuesday afternoon conversations to everybody, who is the person that you feel afraid to ask to be on your show? And I knew exactly who that was. It was Leela Veronica. I had seen her at a conference. She walked in with such confidence, and my thought was, I will never have a conversation with her. And so, sweaty hands, I typed it up and hit send. And I was like, she's not going to respond. And she did. And she came on the show. And not only that, she, at the end of it, and I hear this so frequently from people, you ask questions differently than other people do. You get to know who I am as a person. You get to know why I'm doing what I'm doing. And she says, you're a musician. My best friend's a musician. I want you to meet Al Ingalls. And so it really, from that space, began to say, well, I survived that ask,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And she actually said yes. And I survived the recording and it was lovely. And now she's introducing me to somebody else. Let's just keep going. And this may be a fault of mine, Billy, by personality. But I didn't want to look at numbers. I didn't want to see, I didn't want to. And there came a point, and I would share this with anybody else who's afraid of the data. Look at it as information. Look at it as what color is the sky? What color are the flowers around you? Look at it as information. Don't look at it as identity. When I came out of teaching, I struggled so much because my identity had been a teacher. And so
Mm.
look at it as this is your gift. This is what you are doing. You're being obedient with the energy that you have. You have these things that you know that you're supposed to be working on, even though you may not feel like it has a lot of traction in the moment. Yes, be wise, but I invite people to not give up so easily. Maybe do it for a year. Maybe put a time zone out there, a space that you think at this point I will talk with my mentors, my other people around me, and ask some bigger questions, which leads me to yes, have mentors.
I love the idea of just start with the people you want to talk to. That is great. That's such great advice. So you talked about the data a little bit, and we're going to do like a little bit of data, a little bit of
Mhm.
practicality here.
Sure.
Talk to us about something that is super boring, but it really moves the needle as far as like your effectiveness and the progress of your show.
Doing the minutia, all of the little things that nobody sees. And you and I were talking before we hit record that I have just a few months ago, after 5 years of wanting this, the show's been going on for 3 years, but for 5 years I have been journaling about how I'd love to have a virtual assistant, somebody who would be helping me doing the things that I'm doing, whether I'm teaching the classes, well, all the different other things that I do on the side, right? And so within the last year and a half, the show has become the biggest thing that I'm working on because it has the most traction. So I guess I would say that to people also is um, look at all the things that you are doing and then be watching your energy, but also be watching what's coming back at you. But the pieces that they're filling out the Google forms for E360, putting all, cutting and pasting and
Yeah.
cutting and pasting. And if everybody would just like leave me, I turn the phone on silent. It was all of those things. And yet people would desperately need to get a hold of me. And now I'm trying to stop my train of thought, making sure that I've marked down everything that I've gotten done so that when I come back, I can quickly look at it again and
Yes.
continue on. Right. And so finding somebody who was, and this is the other thing I really wanted, I wanted somebody who was already trained. And so just an off conversation with the wife of another television host, shared that they had somebody who was trained. 30 minutes into
Mm.
the conversation, I said, are they looking for anybody else? As a matter of fact, they are looking to pick up somebody else. And so here came somebody who was trained at an amazing price investment into the show. And yeah, we're getting things worked out. It's not just here it is, go do it.
Yeah.
The,
Yeah. Yeah.
the way my brain thinks and the way that other people's brains think is different. And so we have to find the right language, have to keep, checking in on pieces, but we're getting there. And that place of learning trust and to release is a place of growth for me. But I would say absolutely the thing that people don't see for anybody in all of the work that we do is the minutia. And I think that's
Yeah.
why people burn out or just say, I'm not going to do it anymore because,
Yeah, because so much stuff. But I mean, you've done it, so it's easier for you to pass it on because you're the one that made it
right.
and created it. So you understand the
Mhm.
process. Yeah, that's a
And I
big
would say
thing.
that
Big
to
thing.
anybody, don't ever give away something that you don't know how to do. I
Yeah.
truly, even as a non-techie, I learn it before I give it to someone else.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So before we get to your business, I hope people watch the show and get more information. A fun question. What is something you absolutely hate paying for?
Oh, hmm. Orkin. It has not a whole lot to do with the television show, but
Uh-huh.
we live in a place that has a number of critters,
Oh,
and
okay.
they come out every month, and then different ones come out 4 times a year. And I don't know, there's just something about that one that I'm just like, huh, isn't that interesting? Isn't and I'm
Yeah.
grateful that we don't have critters, right? I mean, so there's the other
Yeah.
side of it. But truly, every time that bill shows up, I'm like, isn't that interesting? I don't know.
Well, but what part of the country you're coming from? That might help us too. What part are you
Well, there
at?
you go. So we live in the most biodiverse area in the entire globe. We live in East Tennessee, snuggled up next to the Smoky Mountains. And so the Smoky
Gotcha.
Mountains are the most biodiverse place in the entire planet, more than even the Amazon or where I grew up in Africa. So there are lots of
Really?
critters. Yes, isn't that incredible?
I did not
I
know
didn't
that.
I didn't know it until we relocated here. And we had
Huh.
a tree person come out, look at my grandparents' trees to make sure that they were still healthy. And he was a wealth of knowledge and learned so
Oh
much from
yeah.
him. Yeah. And so,
Yeah, there's arborists are both boring and fascinating at the same time because they'll walk through trees. You're like, this is so boring, but I can't stop and keep listening to them because they
right.
identify that tree and
Right.
that tree and this tree and the history of that. I'm like, God, this is so
Yeah.
fascinatingly boring. This is
Yeah.
great. So do you get out and hike and check things out pretty frequently too? Like take on all the nature
Every morning I'm out. We
every
got
morning? Cool.
a puppy a few months ago, and it's just best for everybody's state of mind if the puppy gets out in the morning and stretches legs. And so that's something that I've taken up. My morning routine is I get up quietly. I have about 30 minutes to myself. It used to
Cool.
be that the puppy was first because the puppy was so young. Now we have a little bit more bladder control. So I leave in the crate and I get my 30 minutes in of my time, and then I start doing other things. But I think that's that early morning walk. And I leave my glasses at home. I leave my cell phone at home. Just being able to get out
Mm,
and go do and see the sunrise and those kinds of things, I think is really good emotional, mental, physical preparation for whatever the day may have.
mhm. That is awesome. What the day should have is people tuning into your show. So let's talk to
Yes,
about where they can find it and follow more information about you and finish us up.
absolutely. I think the easiest place for people to find me is on Instagram at Sarah Stockham. It's Sarah with an H, so SarahStockham. And if you go into the bio there, you're going to find a link tree that's going to have the link to be able to go to the show. The vast majority, the tens of thousands of people who watch every single month, watch on E360 TV. I choose to house it also over on YouTube because some of
Mm,
my viewers like to watch there. You'll see a few viewers there watching the show, but the majority of people watch inside of E360 TV. It's a free app to be able to sign up for. So that
that's
I would
awesome.
love people to come to Instagram, follow me, and would love to be able to share from there as well.
That's a wonderful, and it is a wonderful day to start my day. Get the nice reflection that Sarah brings us. So I feel much better now. I'm ready to do the rest of my work today. So this was perfect way to start the day. I appreciate your coming on the show with us and all of your knowledge and insights.
Billy, thank you so much for the opportunity to do this. And also, thank you for the work that you are doing because you are
Fun.
helping different businesses be seen in ways that other people aren't making happen. And you are consistently showing up and making that happen. And because of that, you have an incredibly vibrant community. And I love that for you.
That's right. And oh, you know what? I gotta put the link to our show in the show
Oh,
notes too, because we had
great
a show like
plan.
I'll have to make yeah,
Yeah,
so that way they can learn a little bit more about how much fun we had on your show because I was a guest on that one too. So it was a good time. Yep.
perfect.